Welcome to the interview with Pregame. I am Ciara Pressler, and I'm so excited about our guest today to talk about detoxing from perfection, as well as some other wonderful things we're going to learn about. Petra Kolber is a speaker, author, mindset coach, podcast host, DJ, and wellness leader who is known throughout the industry as a beacon of authentic happiness. As a keynote speaker, she inspires people around the globe to stand up for their lives and live profoundly from their hearts. Her work is rooted in the science of positive psychology, and she coaches individuals and teams on how to get unstuck so they can become unstoppable. As a two-time cancer survivor, she is passionate about waking people up to the precious gift of time. Her mission is to inspire people to move more and fear less so they can stretch their dreams, strengthen their courage muscle, and build an inspired life full of joy and gratitude. Oh my goodness, we all need a little bit more of that right now. So please give a little jazz hands welcome to Petra Kolber.
Jazz hands.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. How is your quarantine going in New York City?
Well, today is an unusual day because we have now this incredible wind. So I almost saw my air conditioner like go past the window. And when you think it couldn't get any worse, you're like, well, I guess it could. You know what? I live on the Upper West Side, as we were saying before, we went live. I'm so blessed because I do have Central Park and I have the river. So I can get into nature, which to me is my recalibration from my monkey mind. So, I'm hustling down, I'm getting my best game on, and I'm working hard and trying to be of service as much as possible, and also keep my eye on the long game. Like when we come out into this new world, how do I want to show up, and how can I help other people show up in a way that's meaningful and maybe even different to what we thought it would be even a few weeks ago?
So what does it mean to you to be of service in a time like this?
Oh, good question. I think what it means is what it is, Sarah, I think many times the things we take for granted that we know, that we think like we don't know enough. And then when we look at this new world, I look around me at the people that need help, and it's all the skills that I have built in my business the past couple of years when I pivoted out of fitness into writing and speaking. And so really what my goal right now is obviously to try and keep building my work forward, but with people that like technology, like Zoom and microphones and lighting and this new world of being online, which in some way I've been kind of moving into. So that's really, I think, my number one goal right now with people. How can I help them? I'm holding like free Zoom calls, how to get on Zoom without, whatever, and just lighting, how to have the lighting in front of you. Just really helping people try to not get paralyzed by this new world. And especially if we haven't learned something, not let that be a roadblock between where we are now and where we're going to be going. So I try to help people use the word yet. I don't know how to do this yet. I'm not sure how to use this yet. So that's kind of the work I'm trying to do. I just help people get out of that fear and doubt of the real world and really be able to put action behind their best future, whatever that is and however it's going to look a few months from now.
I appreciate that spirit of helpfulness and generosity, which is something that you've always had, not just in a global pandemic, but I met you 2 or 3 years ago. You came to my New Year's Goal Brunch in New York City and became part of the extended Pregame family that way. And just from the beginning, how can I help? I'd love to get to know you better. And through all of this, how can you be helpful? And I will tell you that humility and that kindness I made the wrong assumptions. I was researching you for this interview. I had no idea how big time you were.
I'm a legend in my own mind.
But I've known you in the current iteration as this speaker, as this author. But before all that, you were a fitness star. Tell us about that.
Well, how far back do we want to go? So, I was the VHS girl. I was when VHS, I'm giving away my age. I was, there's a whole nother world that I was a part of and so blessed to be a part of for 30 years. And I worked with Reebok for 10 years as a global ambassador for them. I traveled the world. I was on TV. I was on the back of a special K-box. But what's so fascinating to me is like this new world that I've stepped into. I say I spent 30 years studying the neck down. And now what I realize is all between the ears, right? It's like, how do we feel about ourselves when we're moving? How do we feel about ourselves when we're faced with this new world? So again, I kind of I've shifted the focus on moving the body into moving our mind, because if these two are not in alignment, nothing's going to move forward. But yeah, I have a deep and really kind of cool past. I'll even meet people at business events. I'll go, I know you from somewhere. And they'll be like, oh my God, I worked out too on your VHS tape. I'm like, hold on, let's just say DVDs or downloadables, right? But yeah, and it's a beautiful, incredible journey that I was blessed to have for quite a while. Yeah.
Would it be accurate to call you the Jane Fonda of Australia?
Well, actually, maybe the Jane Fonda of the UK, because a
Of
lot
the
of people
UK.
think,
Sorry.
no. Most people peg me for either Australian or South African.
Yes.
Because I do not sound British. I even go back to where I grew up. I grew up near Liverpool. So I used to talk like this, all right there, how you doing? But I lost the accent very quickly, because I swear, you know, one of the things we both talk about is not letting the critics get to your heart and not letting the praise go to your head. And when I first came out, some of the most worst comments, like, we can't understand what she's saying. I was like, oh my God. So I think I lost my British accent faster than I should have. And now I'm like, oh, you know, people pay a lot more money if you come in with an accent. So I want to slowly bring it back into my keynotes and charge more money whenever keynotes come back to the stage.
Yeah. It's like the glasses when I was in sales in college. The days when I would wear glasses like the ones you have on and be just a little more aloof, I think maybe people thought I was older, they would buy more from me.
Good. I wish I didn't have to have these. I wish these were just for show, but I'm blind as a bat without them. Yeah, anyway.
So, you know, I have found in working with entrepreneurial people and creators that fitness people and dancers are so fun to work with and some of the easiest people to work with, because they've already built that brain muscle of being willing to work toward a goal, of knowing that success doesn't happen overnight, which is so much of what we talk about at pregame in our group sessions and in our individual sessions. So do you think you were primed for the work you're doing now by being a fitness professional?
Well, that's such a good question. I actually think what it primed me for, Ciara, was seeing the negative. Because there's a flip side, right? There's that golden, shiny, healthy and happy in the six pack, and that can bring a lot of misery. And so that's actually what moved me into positive psychology, because I was seeing the same people, and I was also suffering from this too. I often say we teach what we need to learn. Yeah, right. And it offers sometimes our biggest challenge is our biggest gift, because once we figured out how to get through it, we can help other people do the same. So what was happening for me is, as my career grew, from VHS to TV to all of that, I suddenly thought that I needed to be perfect in all ways, eating the right thing, looking the right way, saying the right thing, to be relevant. So it actually primed me to feel less than. And I still had a great career, don't get me wrong, but there was a lot more joy I could have had I done the heart work of the head work. And I got into therapy and all of that. And then I saw this parallel between what my inner struggle was, that I would never have shared on stage, because I was known as this happy, you know, like go, go, go. And it just wasn't in alignment with my brand at the time. And I felt like I had to show us only, I call it my shiny side, the highlight reel, because who would I be as an expert if I shared my flaws?
Yes.
The very thing I thought people wanted from me was the very thing that was separating me, because no one can connect to perfection. And then what began to happen, I think I don't even remember the day I began to talk about anxiety and panic, and my audience leaned in. And instead of being turned off, they were like, you feel this way? Oh my gosh, I feel the same way too. And that's the day I thought, I see a gap in our industry. I see that we've made this what we look like, the definition of success. which is a big misnomer. And that actually causes a lot of people worry and self-doubt and self-judgment. And so I thought, how can I shift the messaging now about moving, and especially in this time is more important than ever. But it's not about exercise, it's about moving your body so you can move your breath, move your thoughts, and then prime your brain when we can move to increase our focus, decrease our doubt, decrease our stress, increase our creativity for all those positive reasons versus moving our body to lose weight, to fit in a certain size of jeans. Then I think the message is a message that I felt proud to offer.
I think that's such a good point, because even if you have a goal that is a fitness goal or nutrition goal, from all the stress and focus and making pregame first in my, startup time zone of working on this business, I gained some weight and I wasn't as healthy as I usually am and as I like to be. And I was, stress eating and snacking, and
Sure.
We always have chocolate at pregame for very good reason, but sometimes partaking in more of it than I need to. So I decided I was finally ready to deal with that, but I had a hard time setting a goal around weight because that's not what I wanted to solve. I wanted to feel a better relationship with food. I wanted to feel like myself again, and I knew I wasn't treating myself well. And when I got in touch with the parts of myself that I liked and that I felt were worthy and deserved that's when I started seeing some progress also and was able to change the habit.
Yeah. And, for you, you're leading you're leading an incredible group of people that for you, it's about energy, right? And being able to have the energy to sustain your dreams and your business.
Yes.
And I say to so many people, oh, if I was going to get out of bed every morning and go, yay, I've got 10 pounds to lose today. Well, that's motivating, not. If I was to say, okay, I'm going to move today a little bit more, maybe eat a little bit less, so I can get more energy to fuel my body, feel comfortable and energized as I show up to speak or lead my team or whatever it is, and then have the energy to sustain my dreams, that is a lot more tangible and fun than going, okay, I have to lose weight versus what will I gain? How will I expand myself by taking care of my body? And then if we eat the right things, the weight will come off or it won't, or, it's like, but it's not about those metrics. My beautiful industry that I was in for so long, we measured the wrong metrics. I say use the metrics of joy. How are you feeling through your day? If you're feeling lethargic, let's look at the nutrition. Let's look at what we're fueling our body. But let's use the metrics of possibility and future building. This is the vehicle. This is not the end game to use. This is the vehicle to get you ready for the pregame, right? And this is going to step you into your best game. But if we make this the definition of success, we have lost sight on all the people we're going to help and how we can show up as our best selves. Look, people are going to love us, our message, or like our message, whether we have 10 pounds or not. People are not going to like our message or like our message, whether we have 10 pounds on or not. So again, it's just shifting, and it's not easy. I say it's simple, but not easy, because everyone around us is telling us to be successful, you need to look a certain way, act a certain way, yada, yada, yada. So the more we can teach and live what we believe, the more power and inspiration and permission we give to those that we want to help. But, I always say the longest distance we'll ever travel is between our head and our heart. And that's the work all of us here as leaders, that's the work we need to do.
When we're setting goals, I always try to get people to what's the real goal. And I think with an external, physical goal, it's never about that, right? It's never about that number, the weight. It's what you think you'll get when you get to that number, right? And as long as you're honest, you have the chance to unlock the progress. But when we lie to ourselves and say, oh, it's about, managing my health. If it's really about, attracting the opposite sex or the same sex, be honest about that, because you'll probably make some progress.
I love that. Unlocking, the truth is going to set you free. Yeah. And, the only person we have to be accountable for is like, does that goal resonate with me? Does it feel true to me? Is it something that really inspires me? And I think often the goals we're given by society if they're not in alignment with our values or what lights us up, then they're never going to work. So it is doing that work of what's important to me in this moment, because it's always changing. What am I excited about for my future? Because that's always changing. And how can you align the health aspect of that, if you need to, with the bigger vision?
Yes, I think the way that manifests in my area, which is entrepreneurship, is instead of the number on the scale, it's the number in the bank account, right? So
Yes.
people, it's money, but it's not necessarily money, because as we've learned in this incredible economic fall, nobody had money in the bank account, to last them beyond the
Yeah.
next sale or the next paycheck. So it's about how much money it looks like you have, or how many followers you have, or other things that are easier to measure, how many employees you have. But guess what? Like, if you're running your business in the red, those numbers are meaningless, right? And so the struggle for people in business for themselves is often, what is the real motivation behind that? And is it the right motive to be taking these crazy risks to grow a business?
Yeah, and I think what you offer, which is so beautiful, is the truth. This is not an overnight success. We see that highlight reel. That's what people post. But Dory Clark, who we both know, and she actually brought me
Yes,
to your first event even before
yes.
the brunch. She talks about this. Excuse the sirens. She talked about this is like this seeding time that we don't see. Like, for many of us, we're seeing the fertile part where the seed's planted and now it suddenly comes up. But we're missing all the 3 years of planting and toiling and failures and trying and then revamping and then rebranding and then trying this. And I know for myself, I can't speak for anyone else, when I was beginning to move out of fitness and into this new world, I would say only now, probably a good 4 years in, am I beginning to go, it's now that all the little unlocks that it's all beginning to come together, and it's work that I want to do, and it's moving forward in the right way. But it's taken a long time for us to figure that out. And I think the more we can talk about that, the reality, and making the wise choices and looking under the shiny cover, right? Like, this person over here looks like they got it all figured out, but like you say, what's in the bank account? How much in the red are they? Is it a big team just to be a big team? Or can we be a little lean and, be really self-sufficient and make really educated choices on where to spend our money when we need to grow the business?
Exactly. Well, it sounds like we're talking about perfectionism, so let's dive into it. You wrote a book called The Perfection Detox. It's amazing. You gave me a copy, which was so generous, but I just want to share the screen here so that people can see how incredible this book is and how far-reaching it is as well. So I'm just going to show you my copy here of The Perfection Detox. You gave me a physical copy. It's at the Pregame Clubhouse if people want to go through it. But here's a Kindle edition, this beautiful cover, Tame Your Inner Critic, Live Bravely and Unleash Your Joy. This table of contents is absolutely incredible. You've got it divided into 3 parts: taming your inner critic to explore your potential, shifting your focus to live bravely, and liberating yourself to unleash your joy. And my favorite part of the book, maybe, is the hidden at the very end, the notes. You've got pages and pages of references for people who want to maybe explore more. I mean, this is my reading list for the next 2 years. Amazing. I'm just floored at all the resources that are available in this book. So let's start talking about perfectionism. How do you define it? How do we know if we have it?
Oh my goodness. And so here's the thing, who defines perfection? What is that anyway? We have this idea of what perfection is. And I say to many people, perfection is only a word until you attach a meaning to it. So some people listening to this, either now or on the replay, might go, oh, I try and be perfect in my life, and it actually excites me and energizes me, because their definition of perfect is not the same as someone where, like, oh my gosh, if I'm not perfect, it means I'm not worthy. Unless it's perfect, I'm not going to share it. Unless it was received with 100% like golden stars and people love me, then what is my work worth? So a lot of it, like any word, it's only our definition. So for me, perfection had become a double-edged sword. I thought it was a thing I needed to be an expert. That means knowing all the education, knowing all the information, never not knowing the answer to a question. So can you imagine how that set me up when I went in to speak to a large room? It put me on the defense. I was just waiting to be found out. Like, she's a fraud. See, she doesn't know what she's talking about. I was always on the defense. So I could never really be present. I was always 2 steps ahead, wondering if they would catch me out. And in reality, now it's like, especially with how fast knowledge is changing and the ease of access, I would be surprised. In fact, very surprised if I ever was the smartest person in any room. So now I open it up like as an opportunity for us to all explore our gifts from each other. Like, my biggest liberation was like recognizing I do not need to know everything. I just need to be a conduit and hopefully be a way for people to feel inspired to go and learn more about the topic that I feel is interesting. And now I just say, hey, if I don't know the answer, does anyone in this room know? Because then it actually opens up a conversation versus a one-way, megaphone. And then I'll say, look, if no one here knows, here's my VA, I'll just Google it. I'll get back to you tomorrow. So perfection for me personally was not a positive. And the way I ask people to reflect upon that word is, when you think about being perfect, now it could be in your work life, it could be in your relationship with yourself, it could be in your relationship with your loved ones, your family. When you strive to be perfect, does that bring more joy to you, or does it suck the joy out of you?
Wow.
And if it brings more joy, don't change a thing, because your definition is healthy and it's in its boundaries. And if every time you think, oh my God, I need to triple check my work one more time and then I'll send it. Or, until I lose those 10 pounds and I'm perfect, I'm not going to go out on a date. Or even in my relationship, if I don't say the perfect thing, then whatever it might be. Well, then let's look at this through the lens of self-compassion and go, where is my faulty thinking around this word? Do I need to change my thinking, or do I need to change the word, or do I need to change both? And for everybody, it's different.
That's so interesting. The point about feeling like you need to know everything. Sometimes I think of this metaphor, which you'll love, which is, as an expert, you can be like a DJ. You don't have to have written the songs, but just mix them together in the way that shows your unique perspective and expertise in getting the party started, right? Which
I love
DJ,
that.
yeah.
I've never heard that before. I'll be borrowing that from you and
please take it.
That's good.
Yeah, but you're making me think of a friend. I had a friend there in Manhattan who, he was in the perfect couple. They were just adorable. We would always go to their home. They were just seemed like they were meant to be, just kind of that perfect couple that you love to love. And when one proposed to the other, they broke up, and it was such a shock. But I was talking to my friend, and he said, it's because we never fought. We never had one fight in our 4 years together, because they were so focused on being perfect that they never got past that layer.
Oh, wow. That's heavy.
Yes, that always stayed with me of like, that, never fighting is not the sign of a good relationship, whether it's a love relationship or a friendship or something like that. If you can't get into that area where you can emerge from conflict or a disagreement, or just be real enough with someone where there might be a chance for an argument, then you're not able to get to a depth of unconditional love.
Yeah, and that's something I had to learn for myself personally. For pretty much, I imagine almost all my relationships, I had a hard time really stating what I needed. So I was really good at bending, so I would move myself around so there was never any friction, but I lost myself. And it wasn't until just recently that I really did that hard work of knowing, just because you have needs doesn't mean you're needy. Just because you have conflict doesn't mean it's going to end. You can say what you want and they can disagree. And I think it's, whatever way we're going to learn, whether it is in relationship, whether it's in our job, whether it's in our own business, that really is what life is for. And I just hope that we all continue we make mistakes, we get hurt, we pick ourselves back up. But again, it's allowing, like it said before, that freedom to not only show the highlight reel. There's a backstory there. And can we bring all of ourselves to our relationship? Can we bring more of ourselves to our business? Can we bring more of ourselves into our life? And what I talk about is everything that we learn around confidence and perfectionism. None of this, the mistake is we often think we need to change who we are. And in fact, it's actually uncovering the truth of who you are. And when that moment happens, that's when your business will take off, your relationships will flourish in the way that you desire, your relationship with yourself, because we're no longer disowning the parts of us that we think are unworthy or not perfect or not shiny enough. And it just gives us a sense of ease that is actually a magnet to people. That I don't know what she's doing, but I want to be more like her. And it's simply like, take it or leave it. I really care about my work, but I had to stop caring about people pleasing, because then we will never really get narrow and deep and help the people that can help us, that we can do our best work with.
Okay, so a little devil's advocate moment, because thanks to Brene Brown and the vulnerability movement and all that, I've noticed this phenomenon of like performative vulnerability, where people are being messy in this way that's like, and I'm gonna Instagram about how messy I am, but there's always like, it's still trying to sell me something, and it doesn't feel authentic either. So how do you strike that balance where it is authentic versus I'm performing authenticity?
Oh, such a good question. I've never been asked that before. Here's what I say, and it's a little bit different approach, but I think it serves the same purpose. Because people say to me, well, when do I share my story, right? Because I say we often connect through our cracks. And here's the 3 parts. I think the last part is going to address what you're talking about. So the first part is, if I share my story, because I have many parts to my story. If we want to go deep, it's like I had eating issues. Am I going to share that right now? No, it's kind of past. But if I met someone that had this, maybe I could connect with them on that. I've been cheated on. I'm sharing that with your team. Way too much information. But I have a lot of different stories. Here's the thing. I say, is my story going to help the person or the audience, say my Instagram audience? Is it going to inspire them and help? The answer is yes. Okay. Second question, the big one. Is it going to be, like if I'm speaking to someone and they're an empath, and maybe I'm coaching someone, if I share this, will they take it on as their story? And then maybe I think twice about that. But here's the big one. Am I looking for anything in exchange for my story?
Wow.
Am I looking for sympathy? Am I looking for a power play? Am I looking for my Instagram audience to go, oh, if I'm looking for anything, you don't share it. Because you're looking, it's like you say, it's a power play in some ways. We're not even aware that we're doing it, but we're manipulating the truth for the likes or the sympathy. Don't even share it if you're looking for sympathy. It's not time. I say it's not therapy on stage. I would share my story when I'm on the other side of it. I personally believe if you're a leader or you're someone that you want to serve people in a good way, although there are some caveats to that. There's like Jen Gotch, I think that's how you pronounce her name. But her story was she suffers from mental illness, but that was her journey. And she helped so many people. She just has a new book out that I ordered. And there are moments when it wasn't therapy on stage, but her ups and downs was so true. And I think as an audience, you just can feel it, right? You're like, oh, really? How many? And I've seen that too. There was a moment like, okay, how many crises do we need to be relevant? Like, how low do we have to go? Was it now a Coke addiction, then a meth addiction, and then I was homeless? Like, okay, how bad does it have to get till we feel like we can be the leader? And you don't have to have any we all have our struggles, whether it's financial or parents or whatever it is. That doesn't always have to be part of the lead into the conversation.
Yeah, that's a really good point is, are you trying to get something back? So are you saying that the right motive for sharing your story is that maybe you are on the other side of it, but that you are sharing it to be of service?
Absolutely. I think there's even parts of my story right now that I feel like, okay, where I am in the world is that real? Is also, I think there's another third part to it, is it relevant? Is it relevant to what's going on in the world right now? There's a lot of trauma right now in the world. Even if I had gotten through so many things, is that going to help someone in this new world? Probably not. You know, the idea though, there's a part of, you know, me, I suffered from anxiety and fear a lot. That's something that's really relevant right now. How can I help people separate their false fears from the real fears? You know, with perfection, I spoke a lot about, you know, I would dive deep. I would go down and dissect this. 99% of our thoughts are false. And now that's not the case. You know, it's the false fear and the real fear. How do we decipher which is which? Because our brain's going to go and be hijacked by both. So there are parts of the work that I have done in the past that I never thought I'd be talking about in this world. But they're of service right now because I've done the research and I've lived it. And I know how when we get hijacked by our negative bias, that is not going to serve us for our best possible future in this moment. And there are other stories right now that are just not relevant to this time. So I think there's another third part to that. Definitely cannot be therapy. And is it relevant to this moment? And when I talk about not looking for anything in exchange, it's a share. I'm just putting it out there. I'm not looking for the likes. I'm not looking for the sympathy. I'm not looking for this speaking gig. You know, I'm not, it just is.
That's a great guideline. I just want to put it out there to our Zoom audience. If you have a question or a comment for Petra, to just use the hand raise function in Zoom here or the chat box, and we will make sure that we get your question in front of Petra. In the meantime, Petra, the next stage of your research and your sharing with your audience and with us is confidence. Why is that the next step after detoxing from perfection?
I think what happened was I wrote the book, The Perfection Detox, and really is the psychology of the mind, right? So and perfection was my pain point. So I thought, okay, let's speak to what I know. And I'd seen it a lot. And the detox part was like, let me hook people in because they thought it was a juice thing. And they said, oh, it's actually about perfection. Whatever it takes, I'm not, you know, I'll like whatever it takes. And then a lot of people were coming up to me saying, I actually bought this for somebody and I never saw myself as a perfectionist, but I see myself in this book, the imposter syndrome, not feeling good enough. I feel like I'm going to get found out. And all of that is this idea of we need to be someone different to be valuable. We need to be more of something. And that really comes down to this word. I had two words, courage or confidence. And I think confidence is the long game where we have moments of courage within that. And I think like anything, even with perfection, there's so much science around it. And I also felt as I move into my, you know, what's my next game going to be, that perfection is something we want to move away from. We want to leave it behind. Whereas confidence and courage is something we want to move towards too. So it felt more hopeful, more optimistic, more joy. And something I have heard over and over again, if I only had the confidence, then I would do this. If I only felt like I was worthy or I was ready, I would then do this. And I felt that the missing piece in the jigsaw puzzle was sometimes perfection was the dark side, but confidence to do the work, to know that it doesn't have to be perfect to be of value, the confidence to know that we don't have to know everything to be of great service, the confidence to know that we are allowed to have conflict in a relationship and it will not end tomorrow. And it's something that we hear a lot about. And again, in this self-help world, they say, oh, don't worry about perfection, just let it go. Or just be confident and show up. But no one teaches us how. And
right,
then
how do you do that?
Exactly, there's a science to it. And just like entrepreneurship, right? It's a bit of a long game. It doesn't happen overnight. And here's the thing I often say, and it's the work you do with your entrepreneurs. It's like, you kind of have to do it before you think you're ready. You know, feelings of confidence never come first. the actions of confidence come and then the feelings follow, which really sucks. Because if we wait to feel confident to do our launch, to do our book, to get online, to learn Zoom, it will never happen. So what are the tips, tools and strategies that we can do to get us and say yes and? I get ready for our yet. I don't know how to do this yet. I don't know how to even stand up for myself yet. I don't know how to be in a relationship that I want to be in yet. So it's all about closing the gap between the life we're living right now and the life that we are wanting to live. Not saying there's anything wrong with our life right now, but I'd imagine for your audience, we're always wanting to move forward and grow and learn and expand. So that's why the little bit of a shift. For me, more than anything, it was confidence is something we want to leave behind in the past, or perfection rather, the unhealthy, and confidence is something we want to take with us on the journey for the future.
Why is it? I've just started exploring this, and I think of myself as a confident person because I don't mind being on video. I don't mind presenting, but I notice I'm comfortable when I have a role to play, you know, like I'm hosting this event. But if I'm just showing up at a party and I'm not helping the host or something like that, that I feel nervous, or certain social situations, I'll get extremely, like, cripplingly nervous and not feel confident. And that's such a surprise to me because I used to be quite the social butterfly, but for some reason right now, it's not happening. So why is it that in some areas of our lives, we can feel very confident and in other areas we don't?
You know, confidence is like a muscle, and I'm just like you. I can stand up and talk 1,000 people, not a blip. One-to-one, I think for a lot of us, that social anxiety, and also when you're giving all the time, and I think a lot of people are introverts. So when you're hosting this, you kind of are in control. You know what it wants to be like. And I'm the same. I am absolutely the same. When we're stepping into a social scenario where we don't know everybody, we are at our most vulnerable because there's this idea that I have to be of value to be in this room. And who is telling us that we need to be any different to be in any room? You know, we could be amongst kings and queens, that we're all the same. But yeah, there's this idea that, you know, even when I first met you, it's like, who am I to be a friend? Or it's crazy. We're constantly comparing and despairing. So I think it's just what's helped me in that social situation. Look, I don't like it. I'm trying to get better at it. Not to be, I hate the word networking, but you know, sometimes, you know, the person in that room is the very person that could use our help. So what's changed for me is instead of I also like give myself 30 minutes. I'm like, if I'm still miserable after 30 minutes, I'm going back home. I'm putting Netflix on. I'm watching Schitt's Creek in my PJs, and it's a good night because I try. But I try and give myself 30 minutes. And this is me stretching my confidence muscle because I have yet to feel excited, let's say, about walking into a room of people I don't know. It's this idea of what can I bring into the room? And I often think that everyone in that room is feeling just like I am. So how can I make someone else feel more at ease? And what it does, it takes the kind of my light off me, like, oh, what are they going to think about me? And when I go, how can I make this experience better for someone else? It kind of takes the pressure off. It's just a mental flip that I guarantee 95% of the people in the room are feeling the exact same way. But I think also sometimes confidence is like a muscle. So we're going to feel confident in the areas. You're a skilled speaker. You are skilled at, you know, bringing people together and being a networker, and you're passionate about that. And you also want to grow and stretch yourself. And like myself, anytime we're learning something new, there's that gap between where we are and where we want to be. And I just think we want to reframe this gap as not proof of, see, there's more proof of I don't know how to do it. I'm not smart enough. I'm not this enough. But like, how exciting. Here's another thing I get to learn, and, you know, and then help other people, whatever it is that we're learning. So just reframing that gap from being proof of like, see, there's another thing you don't know. See, I told you weren't smart enough, to go, how awesome. You are stretching yourself. You're showing up and you're doing the work. And then through that, you know, it is that competence loop, right? try, practice, assess, redo, try. And I think the missing link for many of us is that we think we have to try and it needs to be a win the first time.
Ooh, yes.
And it doesn't. It's actually very rare that that happens. And what happens when we have the misnomer of it needs to be perfect or a win or 1,000 people need to buy my course on day one or it's a failure, we absolutely lose ourselves into all the data that we could learn. Not that it was a failure. Maybe it didn't hit the hopes. Take the word expectation off the table because that is just a problem, but maybe it didn't reach the hopes that we had had for whatever it is we're doing, a talk, a project, whatever. Now, if we can look at that through the lens of self-compassion, like what bits did work? I would guarantee for anyone listening, probably 80–85% of what you were offering was absolutely spot on. And maybe it was a messaging thing, maybe it was whatever, a sales page, maybe it was a branding thing. Like 5% needs to be tweaked. And maybe only 5% could be left in the past. And we reiterate, we retweak, and we take all of that 95% that worked, we change one piece, then we move iteration 2.0. And instead of starting over and over again, we're actually inching ourselves constantly further forward into the work that we are excited to be doing.
I love that. One comment from the audience is that, you know, in business, so much of what's implicitly expected is perfection, right? And I think especially right now where people are feeling threatened about their income or their job, we feel like we have to get it perfect. How do we deal with that fear?
But I wonder, is the world expecting that? Is business expecting that? Or is that what we're expecting of ourselves to be worthy in the business? I have yet, and I could be wrong in this, but pretty much on all, if I look back on any speaking gig, any job, I'm now reaching out to, you know, big companies that I would never have been in before because a lot of my work is also around resilience that is really relevant. I'm reaching out to some big name companies and they're bringing me in. I'm doing a lot of work, service work right now, right? Because it's getting not one of those people are expecting perfection. I think often business is not expecting that. Yeah, of course, we've got to show up. We've got to be diligent. We've got to be, you know, be our best and like do great work and be of service and be relevant and adapt. I have yet to meet one person that's hired me that said, you better be perfect at this. So
Wow.
I sometimes think we are our own roadblock.
Sure.
Maybe think back, whoever asked that question, is a great question because I know that's what you often feel. And the minute I let go of that I don't need to be perfect, I do need to serve. And in this moment, that gave me the permission to reach out to companies I would never, and then it's also, right, if they say no, it's not a reflection of me, not right time, not right moment, not right message. And so it's all these little parts that if one part isn't right, we often go, see, knew I shouldn't have done that, knew I wasn't worthy, I knew, and really it might have been right message, wrong time, or wrong, just the message needs a tweak, right moment, right you. And we look at this as very black or white, like
That's
it's
great
this
advice.
or that. Yeah, and
Yes.
it's easy for me to say right now. I will go tomorrow but this is the thing, that's why it's so important, this work, just to be aware of those blanket statements. They're expecting this to be perfect because that will stop you. That will stop you from actually reaching out to the people who don't need you to be perfect. They just they need your message and only you can share it. They don't need your perfect message. And one of the things I said on the little clip, the world does not need your perfect silence. It needs your imperfect voice, message, program, whatever it is. And the only way we get closer to perfect, whatever that means, is by getting it out there, getting the feedback. And feedback doesn't mean it wasn't amazing. Just means we can even move that closer forward. So yeah, we just have to be really careful of does business expect it to be perfect? It does expect us to show up and do our best work, but mistakes doesn't mean that it wasn't brilliant. Mistakes are going to happen in pretty much any situation, especially in this world now where more of us are learning new things, more of us are learning new skills. And I'm seeing so many mess ups of big companies double booking themselves and, not showing up. I was let down twice. I was stood up twice by a virtual head of a company who was so apologetic. This is a big company. we're just doing the best that we can. What people do expect is for us to show up and give 150%. But that 150% does not have to be perfect.
So tell us about your confidence course. That is how we can dive in and actually start to build the muscles.
Right. I mean, I think, so here's the thing, like any work that you do, it's, I think we just need, there's a game plan, right? You do all right gaming, like how do you get ready for your big game? And with anything that we do, I just hope to like get out of all the shortcuts. I'm like, here's what's worked for me. Doesn't mean it's going to, work perfectly for you. And then in community and conversations, I just feel it's important right now to talk about how to promote yourself with confidence, how to sell with confidence, how to go for a new job with confidence, how to be in a, because this is a new world we're stepping into. And I really have often said the difference between those that do and those that don't, those that succeed and those that don't try has nothing to do with talent and everything to do with confidence.
You are correct. Yes.
Yeah. And sometimes we see some people going, okay, we're like, how the heck are they being so successful? Because they have the balls, they have the confidence to go for it. And when you have great content, when you have great integrity, when you really care about what it is that you do, that jigsaw piece of it's the confidence muscle. And here's how you start practicing it before you feel like you're ready. And I've just seen people asking for the prices that they think that they're worth. That's still my biggest, hardest thing to do. Like asking like, how much do you charge? Oh, and not like not negotiating on myself. So, I have a year-long, I have the course and then a year-long support program where, things around finances, I'm going to bring people in to talk about that because I'm still doing my homework on that. So that's my work moving forward, like leaving the perfection in the past and how, as we are facing this new world, do we recalibrate? Because also there's going to be some post-traumatic stress. There has been some very real trauma gone on. So how can we rebuild even if you felt you were confident before, you might've been shaken to your core because the world who we thought we were in this world, the world has changed. How are we going to adapt and grow from this and not just come out as we were before, but stronger and bolder and more certain that our message is worth it and less concerned about perfection and more concerned about our impact and our service. And so I riff on that because I think I've had way too much coffee this morning.
And our old way of being confident might not be appropriate for the new world, right? Like what you said earlier about, is this timely? Is this appropriate to the situation? Our old ways of being confident, I'm thinking we're going to see a huge decline, thank goodness, in conspicuous consumption, in Kardashianism. We're going to want to see authenticity and real connection. And so the way we show confidence might look very different in the new world we're about to enter.
Yeah, I think real confidence is actually very quiet. And for me, the definition is confidence is trusting that we can show up for ourselves. Confidence is trusting that we have our own back, because that's what unwavering confidence is. No matter where the chips fall, no matter if they like us or not, if we get the likes, doesn't matter, because what we believe in is so true. Our integrity is so rock solid. The work we do is so in alignment with our values. We know ourselves so well that in relationships, in business, in life, we are unshakable. And look, confidence is kind of like interval training, but resilience and confidence together will allow us to ride the good times without waiting for the next shoe to drop, which will take a while for us to trust the world again. So the more we can trust ourselves in this new world, the more able we will be to adapt and rebound from whatever it is that we're having to face. And I call like confidence resilience. It's almost like your emotional buoyancy. Because we're going to be hit. We thought we were hit hard and we're going to get ready. And there's going to be another wave and this is not to be a Dolly Downer. I'm like, yeah. But no, this is a reality. We are going to be faced with things that our brain is not adapt or built to face this level of stress for this amount of time. So also having the confidence to know when to retreat and take radical self-care. So it's all of those pieces together. And it's kind of like the loop of confidence, like just trying this on, practicing it, assessing, and then adapting, trying on, assessing, and through this new world that we're going to be doing that circle of confidence over and over again. But when we trust ourselves to show up for ourselves, then we know it's going to be an okay day.
Petra, we only have a minute left and my face hurts from smiling so much. You are so delightful, but I have to ask you for our last question, and then I want to get all your links. Our traditional pre-game question of all our guests: how do you define success for yourself?
I think what it is for me is when my heart and my head are in alignment, when there's no static, that the work I'm doing just feels so joyful to me. Yeah, it's work. But I think the biggest thing is, there's always that, if you've made a choice, there's always that, there's that little static, like I want to do this, but we're second guessing ourselves, right? When I trust myself to show up, and however I am serving that, and it changes, right? My work changes, all our work changes. But when my head and my heart, when I'm at peace, even in the trials of today, it's when my head and my heart are speaking the same language. That's success.
That's beautiful. How can everyone find out more, get the book, find out about your course? I've got people in the chat box who just want you to be our alarm clock every morning. How can we get more?
You'll be oversleeping because I'm terrible at getting up on time. So the best way probably is just my website, petrakolber.com. And there you can find the book, you can find my courses, you can find, on social media, it's just my name, Petra Kolber. But just thank you so much for the gift of your time. You are a delight. If we lived closer, I'd be like your stalker best friend, but in a nice way.
Well, I will return that favor, and for sure, as soon as it's safe to travel again, I will be in New York, and we will have fun in person.
I am looking for your New Year's goal brunch. Like, I will be signed. You have to get a bigger venue this year because we're all going to be craving to be in the same room with great mission. So thank you so much to your audience, and thank you for the gift of having me on your interview series.
Thank you, Petra. And tune in next week. We'll have more guests, more fun. And thank you to all the pregame members and fans who showed up. You can see our upcoming schedule at pregamehq.com. I am Ciara Pressler, and this is The Interview.
I spit it cold like lyrically I'm a problem. That's when the show starts. I get it, live it, I did it. So who